Hey guys, if you've been following for a while, you know it's Sam from Degree43. Our first episode of Tub Talks, and today we've got Andrew Tomkins on with us. He's from Vacuum One, a wee business up in Auckland. Andy, tell us a bit about your business and sort of how it came to be.
Hey Sam, how you doing, man?
Yeah, good mate, good.
Hey, good. Hey, yeah, so Vacuum One's been around for about 25 years. It started way back with a guy, Greg Plummus. He started the business back miles ago when vacuums first started coming to New Zealand. A guy, Chris Barker, who invented the what do you call them? The eco cans. You know, this automatic spray for your fly sprays.
Oh,
He's quite well known. He came back from South Africa and had seen built-in vacuums over in South Africa and the States when he was there. So he came back and started worked out a plan and started building them. We're still servicing some of his models 25 years later, so they're pretty good machines.
yeah.
But yeah, so Greg started out with him, and then Greg took over the residential side of the business. Chris still looks after the commercial side. He does a lot of vacuums for car grooming companies and that sort of thing, where you need a large industrial sort of motor and a large industrial type of setup. Whereas Greg settled on the residential stuff, and we bought the business. My wife Paula and I bought the business in July last year, so we've been at it for a little while. Same team, and we specialise in ventilation products and vacuum products for residential new builds.
Oh, fantastic. So what sort of gave you the idea to get into the ventilation game, I guess?
Well, ventilation's been becoming a more and more important topic for the building industry, for the government, especially around leaky homes and around wet and damp homes, sick homes where kids are becoming sick. It's been going on for years in New Zealand. The building stock in New Zealand has typically been pretty bad. It's been built even to the code. It still can be leaky and they can still be damp. You know, I've had a guy that I used to work with who had a couple of kids who lived in a rental that was damp, and their kids spent hours and hours and hours in and out of hospital, and you know those are lifelong respiratory problems that they will end up having, and purely due to a damp house where dampness is, mold will grow, and when mold is there, black spores will get into your lungs, and they will make kids sick, make adults sick, and that's how a lot of our building stock is. And so ventilation, either through at a basic level of opening windows, is the best thing you can do for a house. But often houses you can't open windows and it's neither not safe, or people are working full time and so they aren't at home during the day, or they're stuck in a noisy part of the city or something where they can't open windows. So that's the reason that I'm actually pretty passionate about ventilation. Despite being a product that we sell, I'm pretty passionate about it because I worked as a property manager for quite a while, and we dealt with a lot of houses where landlords wouldn't put ventilation in, tenants weren't great at opening windows, and tenants were living in cold, crappy, damp houses.
Yeah, and I guess that's the big thing. I guess it's the same with the likes of the building industry in New Zealand about 20, 30 years ago, wasn't it, when they brought in double glazing? Because I lived in some pretty damp, crappy houses when I was at university, and wooden windows, and you could see through the other side. So I guess the more insulated and the more warmth we're trying to keep in, the more important ventilation is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, there's a saying in the industry. It's sort of one of those things. If it's wrap up tight, ventilate right, which basically means that new houses are wrapped tighter, so the less airflow. So your old villa that's got air coming up underneath the floorboards and through the roof space and through the walls and around the windows. Doesn't tend to have problems with ventilation. They have problems with heating, but not with ventilation. So new houses, when they're built to code and they're built well, they actually become sicker faster because there's no natural airflow through them. So the good in a way, yeah, easy to heat a house. It's got good insulation in the walls and the ceiling, but when it's wrapped up tight, the airflow through it is the part that moves the moisture out. So basically, as people occupy a house, they produce moisture through showering and through cooking and just generally being in a house. You produce natural moisture into the air, which sits in your bedding and sits in your furnishings and floorings and stuff, and you do need a natural amount of humidity in your house. You can't have a totally dry house, otherwise you end up feeling like you're in an aircraft and you get sore colds and flus and stuff a lot more easily because your mucus in your nose dries out and that produces colds and flus, which is kind of poignant at the moment. So you do need, a comfortable house is sitting around 50 to 60% humidity. In Auckland during the summer, you're up to 75, 80%, 90% humidity. So you want to get rid of some of that humidity, but you don't want to dry the house out. But a tight, new, well-built house will, that humidity will grow and stay in the house without opening windows and having good ventilation through the house.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's probably something that a lot of people are noticing, particularly at the moment being stuck at home. And the lockdown in those days, I don't know what it's like up in Auckland, but I know in Christchurch, we're definitely starting to have some of those cold mornings. So we're definitely feeling it down here. Obviously, there's not a huge amount people can do while in lockdown. They can't just grab ventilation people to come in and do this sort of work. But what are some steps that they can take in the meantime to ensure that all this extra moisture that's being caused from them being home all day is able to escape and they're not ending up with a damp home?
Yeah, it's a good question. Like it's generally, I guess when you've got kids at school and people at work, you don't have people home 24/7 producing moisture, having showers, cooking all the time, all of that sort of stuff. So really recommendations are opening windows. If you don't have a ventilation system, open your windows up, get as much airflow through the house during the warm part of the day as you can, so you're not losing all that heat. If you're using a fireplace, try to open up your doorways, get the heat down through your hallways and into your bedrooms, and if using a heat pump, again, heat the areas where you're going to live. That's probably the most important part, because you'll lose a lot of heating through your house if you open up all your doors and windows. You don't want to be heating the world. So heat the parts of the house that you want to live in, and then when you can, open up the windows, because the moisture in your house will make it a third to 2/3 more expensive to heat your house, because heating damp air is more expensive than heating dry air. So natural ventilation through your house is really important. Even with ventilation, it's still important that when you can open your windows, get your windows open. You want to have an air exchange through your house. Basically, how a ventilation system works is it pushes air. It's called positive pressure. So it's basically got a fan, it's pushing air into your building, which is forcing air out of the building. So through your extraction fans, through your doors and your windows, all that sort of stuff. They're the areas where the air is being pushed out. So it's bringing in filtered air through the filter on the ventilation system, pushing out the damper air in your house and exchanging it for drier air. And that should be happening through your house all the time, so that the chance of mold and spores growing in your house is low. The condensation on your window goes down, because the amount of moisture in your house is lower. You still might get some, but generally it's, once a ventilation system goes in, you notice that pretty quick. Especially in Christchurch, where I grew up in Christchurch, and the moisture in our villa was so cold, was so bad that it was freezing on the inside of the windows. So I know about living in cold, damp houses. As a student, I also, were burning wooden bookcases and things just to try to heat the house, and the house was never warm. You put ventilation in it, and you don't need as much heating because you're not trying to heat cold air, cold, moist air. But yeah, to answer your question, open windows up, open bathroom doors up. Get some airflow through your house when it's warm enough to. Use your ventilation, use your extraction over your, when you're cooking over your stove. Use your fans in your bathroom. If you've got them, you must have them, but if you've got them, use them. That's the best thing you can do right now if you don't have some kind of ventilation system.
Okay, that's interesting. I might be a bit of a princess for asking this, but there's times, it doesn't happen all the time, but there are times when I'm cooking at home with my wife. We've got a really noisy extraction fan. And I often turn it off when I'm talking to her because it's just too dominating. Is there sort of a solution for that, or are they all just noisy and you'll have to put up with it?
No, I think you can spend as much as you like on kitchen fans. The more you pay, generally the quieter the fan. We had the same problem. We installed a cheaper fan, and over the top of the stove, and it's noisy as heck. So probably if you are doing a new build, the thing to look out for is not necessarily price. And again, that's like with any kind of fan and any appliance really. There's a point where price is low, but the utility of the thing is low too. So looking at the decibel rating on the fan, also where it's located in the kitchen. Obviously it's going to be over the stove, but where is that in coordinate, to where you're putting if you're building a kitchen, where is your stove compared to your living areas, and also look at the fan type. The better fans, there's some really nice quiet ones out there, and they're probably worth investing in, because you don't want to have to cook your pasta and your food over, without your fan on, because all that's doing is adding moisture into your house.
Yeah, and I guess then you're paying for it in the long run with the extra heating to try and warm that moisture.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay, so there's obviously lots of different. This might be slightly off topic, but with sort of ventilation to do with heating, what's sort of the best solution for houses if somebody's looking at building today? Is there a really good combination you can recommend, or ventilated heating, or something like that?
Yeah, there's a ton of options. Heat pumps are good. Heat pumps are great with ventilation systems, especially one. Evo AQ is the product that we sell. It's been developed in New Zealand. It's made for New Zealand conditions. It's really energy efficient. But the best part about it is it's got built-in sensors into the fan that look to what's going on in the house. So it's sensing the humidity, it's sensing the heat in the home, so that, and it will speed up and slow down depending on that. So generally at a humidity around 60 to 70% and heat source of around 22, 23 degrees is when the fan really likes it. So it's pushing as much air into the home, because it knows that later on in the evening or in the mornings, when it's getting down to, in Auckland at the moment, it's getting down to sort of 9 degrees. It's pretty cold for us, but but
that's like the middle of our days at the moment.
I know. So the last thing you want to do in your home is have your ventilation system blasting cold air into your bedrooms. Bedrooms are most comfortable between 16 and 18 degrees. So you don't want to take all that cold air out of your ceiling and push it into your bedrooms just because the fan doesn't know what to do. So our one, it's looking for those temperatures. It's doing the air exchange, the right amount of air during the day when the ceiling space is warm, and then buttoning right off during those cold times, or when it's really, really, really moist. So it doesn't want to bring moist air or cold air in. So that's where it works really well with a heat pump, because generally when you've got a heat pump on, the heat pump doesn't exchange air. It's just heating and cooling the air in the room. So most heat pumps, there are some that will purify the air, which are nice, but generally the 90% of your heat pumps that you find will be on at the time when your ventilation system's not doing a whole bunch, not our one anyway. So they work really well together. So you're not because the last thing you want to do is then take the air, try and compete with the cold air coming in for the ventilation system. So the Evo AQ product, when you've got your heat pump on in the morning when you get up and it's cold, it's 2-3 degrees, your ventilation system is hardly working. It's just bringing air, it's just exchanging air. And then when it's warmer in the daytime and you turn your heat pump off, the ventilation system then starts bringing air in. With a fireplace, it's a little bit different. We do a heat transfer system, which basically you take your heat from your fire and pushes it into the bedrooms over the evening. So if you've got your fire on in the afternoon, heating into the evening, you turn your heat transfer on, and it's taking that air, pushing it into the bedrooms and keeping those bedrooms at a good ambient temperature, 18, 19 degrees. It's never going to bring it up to 25, but you don't really want your bedrooms. It's not a comfortable temperature to sleep at that time. So we don't recommend having a heat transfer with a heat pump, because your heat pump will bring your temperature up to to 23 degrees if that's what you've got it set at, and it will try and keep that room at that temperature. If you're sucking that air out through your heat transfer into your bedrooms, it's making your heat pump work really, really hard. Not good for your heat pump and not good for your power bills. Whereas a fireplace is just going to keep heating while you put wood on it. It's still going to heat, which is a great source of energy to cheaply heat your bedrooms.
Yeah, that's an interesting point actually, because when I was growing up and living at home with my parents, they had a wood fire. But I always hated because they would shut the door off into the hallway where our bedrooms were, and the lounge would get so toasty, and then you go to bed and it'll be freezing cold. So I love the idea of that heat transfer. I have seen, I've got a heat pump at the moment, so it's probably not ideal. But
no, not with a heat pump, but great with a fire. If in the next place when you have a fireplace, great product. For a few $100, you over the lifetime of the building, you get that back pretty quick. It just helps to take the edge off the non-living areas, places where because if you can get a ducted heat pump, which are pretty expensive. They're pretty popular up here for new builds, but they can be, you are heating most of the house. For a lot of the systems, you heat most of the house or all of the house to the same temperature, and you might be only wanting to live in the lounge for the most part. So we can hop into those ductings for those and ventilate when you're not using the ducted heat pump. But generally, for most houses, it's more economical to use the natural, like to insulate well, so your house is warm underneath and your ceiling and your walls, and have a small heat source like a wall heater or something like that to heat those areas.
Yeah. Okay. No, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And it is so true, because that I've always loved the idea of the ducted heat pumps. I can't have it because we've got a 2-story place and we can't fit it in between the floor space and the ceiling space. It's just not big enough. But it makes sense. We don't live in most of the house, so why would we want to heat it? I like the idea of having it a weird temperature, but we go from the lounge to the kitchen to the dining to the bedroom, and that's about all we need. But it's
also when you're researching those, if you're doing a new build, look at the power usage, because I have seen some pretty horrific stories of them costing, on a big house, up to $300 a month to run the heated, the ducted heat pump, because they're a big unit. They use there could be 2 or 3 18-watt motors running, and which is a lot of power to use. So the last thing you want to do is spend money on an expensive appliance and then turn it off because you can't afford to use it.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of defeats the whole purpose of everything in the first place, doesn't it?
Exactly.
On the topic of ducting, though, with COVID-19 obviously being a pretty hot topic at the moment, and the reason that I'm at home in my isolation get up today, what's with ducting, is that transferring the COVID virus around, or is there anything we can do to stop that?
Ventilation generally won't stop viruses. Viruses are very small and will get through filtration. We use with a HEPA filter, hospital grade filter in our ventilation systems, which is pretty standard across good ventilation systems. But even a HEPA filter won't stop viruses. They're too small; they'll get through. The rules around hygiene in your home is important. The reason we have vacuums as part of our offering, we talk about getting the dust out and air in, so vacuuming with a good, we prefer a central vacuum because the dust isn't coming back into your home. That's plus because we sell it, disclaimer there, but we sell them, but they have great, a good vacuum with good filters on it helps to get the dust out because the viruses can live in the dust, but the ventilation system won't stop viruses from being in your home, whether it's COVID or flu or colds and stuff. But good airflow through your house will. It's shown, and some of the research that's come out through COVID that sneeze can go up to sort of 8 meters and remain in the air for 3 to 5 minutes. And even when the person's left the room, it's the particles can still be in the air. So having good airflow through your house is probably the best thing that you can do as far as a ventilation system goes to reduce the risk in your home. But come once COVID and flu season's over, the bigger problems in your home are really black mold and moisture related illnesses around that, because they are as bad for you as some of the flus and the viruses that are around at the moment. Because if you've got kids and they've got a cupboard that's got mold in it, and it's because of bad ventilation and they're breathing it through the night, that'll make them sick for the rest of their life.
Yeah, and that's not what any parent wants. Being at home,
No.
Yourself for the last couple of weeks with the kids. You guys don't have any critical work on at the moment?
No, we are essential because we HVAC, other than a few bits and pieces broken that people need parts for, that they'll generally, and they've had to sort of wait for it really, because we can't put things in a courier. So but there's a lot of work coming up once people are back. It'll be interesting to see what COVID's done to the building industry. I think a few guys are going to be hurt, but hopefully, like any industry, there's work to be done, and I think people will be back into it.
Yeah, I'm the same. We're pretty resilient as Kiwis, aren't we? And it's pretty amazing, actually, looking at all the sort of different ways that companies the ideas people are coming up with to sort of connect with communities and think outside the box to, service their customers, which is really, really cool to see from a business point of view. Are there any things or any jobs that you're doing around the house at the moment, since you've got a bit of time on your hands?
Yeah, it's been great, actually. There's been a big list of jobs that I've had on my list for about a year or two. We built a pizza oven a while back. Actually, I built two now. One fell over, so I built it again.
Hopefully that's stronger
so much for my my block laying skills went so flash, so I've resorted back to timber, large railway sleepers, so that's a lot more sturdy. But I needed to build a canopy over top of it, so I've built a pergola over top of that, and then I'm just waiting for Mod 10 to open up to get some roofing for that, and then it's been a nice project. I've enjoyed. It's been, as much as I want to get back to work, it's been nice having time to sit and do some of these projects that they've been hanging around for ages. So I've got a couple of girls, and they've been building things. We built a outdoor table and chairs together. So things like that you just that often time doesn't allow. So in a way, it's been a bit of a blessing. Although I'd like to get back to work and start earning some money, but it's you got to make the most of time when you get it, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, it probably keeps your lovely wife off your back as well, getting all these jobs done that you've been saying you're going to do for the last year or so.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, she's just adding things to the list now. I've got time, but uh, but but yeah, to be honest, keeping busy at the moment is a good thing. Having projects to do is nice. It's yeah, being a pretty practical guy. It's nice to be able to get out and do things and build things and see a result at the end.
That's it. That's it. Hey, it was an
Yeah.
absolute pleasure having you on, Andy. Thank you so much for that. Just before we go,
Yeah, no worries.
where can people find you?
At the moment on vacuum1.co.nz is our website. We're in the middle, actually. That's one of the projects over this time, is to rebuild the website. So we in the time we're rebranding to HomeSoul, which will include a whole bunch more products. So from homesoul.co.nz will be the website in a couple of weeks, where we will be able to show better the ventilation and the vacuum products and other products that we will bring on. In the same vein, there's a couple of products that add onto the ventilation system, like bipolar ionization, which is a technology that is able to kill viruses. It's been around for a long time. We're still looking at investigating whether it will be effective on ventilation systems in New Zealand, but that's a product that we're certainly looking to move forward. Also, products like VOC sensors, which is volatile organic compounds, which basically live in your house, especially a new house, in the paints and formaldehydes from your carpets and things, and from your cushions and things like that. So we're sensors, so that'll basically turn ventilation up and down based on the amount of VOCs. And we also have a range of bathroom and kitchen extraction coming out that are all sensor based. So there's no switch on the wall. It'll work on the humidity in your bathroom and go until it's back to it's a normal state. So it's got AI, and it's learning your environment and trying to get your bathroom back. So, we've had too many stories of new homes that have had, a shitty, 100 mil fan put into their bathroom, a brand new home, and they're putting in a low volume extraction system, and the bathrooms are getting wet. The people are complaining why the bathroom's wet. It doesn't need to be. We've got some fans that will fix that. So they're all products that are going to be on the homesoul.co.nz website coming up. But at the moment, vacuum1.co.nz, or inquiries at sales@vacuum1.co.nz.
Fantastic. Hey, thanks so much for that, Andy.
Awesome. All right. Good luck with the last couple of weeks, Sam. I know that your tubs are probably all sitting there ready to go. There's been a couple of times when I would have liked to have lit the fire and sat in a hot tub and had a beer and enjoyed time, but I was a bit late getting my order in.
Next time I take a picture of myself and my wife in the tub with a glass of wine, I'll Photoshop you into it, mate.
Thanks, mate. There'll be three of us in there.
No, that's cool.
All right, Sam. All right. Thanks for that. See you, mate.
Cheers, mate. See ya. Awesome. That was our first podcast of Tub Talk with Andy Tomkins. If you want to follow along, we've got some more coming up about our landscaping, about more renovations. If you're looking to sell your house, click subscribe below and share with a friend. We'd love to have more people on board that we can offer some value to and hopefully get through this COVID-19 lockdown together. Awesome. Cheers, guys.